The one thing I'd like everyone to know about child development research is that we cannot keep applying the results from adult research to children.
It's important that we understand the nature of how children learn language, and the more we know about the conditions that children best learn, the better able we are to present environmental conditions to help children learn.
We know so little about what happens before we're born. Now that we have 4D ultrasound capability, we have the ability to see a baby developing and understand more about how they're learning from the things that they're hearing and seeing before their birth.
I'd definitely recommend coming to the facility to other parents, knowing that Elsie is going to be contributing to some really important scientific research. It ultimately helps me to become a better parent.
The Infant and Child Development Lab is a group of researchers who do research for children across all ages, all under one roof, with labs that are set up for specific areas of research.
We study the development of young and slightly older children. What makes it really special is the lab space that we have and the community of researchers that we have here.
Our facility is really important because we are quite unusual in that we do children of all ages, and we do such a variety of techniques and also research areas as well.
My research focuses on very early development, even from before we're born. What do we learn from the things that we hear, see and feel before birth? And how do differences in what we hear, see and feel contribute to differences in how we develop?
My role as sonographer within this research is to scan the baby's face in 4D and to get as clear a view as possible throughout the study, so the researchers can look for facial cues and any sort of movement, get the data from it.
And this research really helps to understand more about how we develop in the face of information and the face of different experiences throughout pregnancy to help families really just make those decisions that's best for them.
My research focuses on autistic children, and many autistic children have difficulties learning language, about 25%, and minimally speaking throughout childhood. So my research focuses on how children learn language and trying to identify the optimal learning conditions to help them acquire vocabulary.
We look at how and when children acquire different aspects of their first and second or even multiple languages. This is really important because language is a big part of our lives, our successful communication and educational skills.
My own research is concerned with the development of infants in the first 2 years of life. This is really important because many people agree that this is where the foundations for later development are laid, and yet these are children who are the hardest to study.
The studies that we do in the lab use a whole host of different methods. The methods that I often use involve eye tracking because I work with very young infants, and one of the things that's easy to do is track where it is that they're looking, how it is that they're picking up information about their environment.
My research is in this lab, but it's also out there in the community as well. So we do studies on children's language and learning here in the lab, where we can really get to grips with exactly what children are doing in very controlled settings. But we're also very interested in what happens out there in the world. So children's experience in their home environments, in preschools and in primary schools when they get there.
So my relationship to the Infant and Child Development Lab is because there's a large group of us who do work on language and literacy research. Most of my work occurs off-site in classrooms, in local schools and schools right across the country. But the children, there's a strong relationship between early preschool language skills and the ease with which children learn to read. So some of the children we work with may well come into the lab to have their language skills tested preschool, and then we see them later on when they enter school.
My research focuses on how children learn, and that includes their curiosity, but also how children share knowledge with others. The findings from my studies help us gain a better understanding of how children learn. Either they learn independently or from others, and once they've learned something, how they go on to share what they've learned with other people. So these are really fundamental cognitive mechanisms of the human mind.
I have brought both of my children here, a total of 9 years in between them. Research studies that we've participated in have varied between newborn studies going all the way up to 8 years old, testing vision, eyesight, hearing, understanding assessments between autistic and non-autistic children.
I have a daughter called Elsie. She is currently 10 weeks old. I'd describe my experience of coming into the Infant and Child Development Lab as a positive one. When you first walk in, it's dead colourful, it's got lots of toys for the children, lots of books, and there's lots of them to play and lots of things for them to do, which really starts sort of a positive relationship with children getting involved in research here.
My first impression of a facility is that it's really warm and welcoming. It's beautiful bright colours, lovely toys. Everyone knew my name and my children's name from the moment we walked in. We're really, really friendly. I've got to know a lot of the staff over the years that I've come in, so it's almost like a sort of extended family now as well, and it's lovely to see all the studies that are completed and everything that the children have worked towards.
It's really important that families from all over come and take part in research because children, they are unique. Each child's got their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and they all engage with the world in different ways, and it's so important that we get to see that in our research, because if we're going to have a real world effect, we need to see that in our research. So it's so important that everyone comes and joins in the fun.